Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to A Reseller's Journey. Here is your host, eBay Joey.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, eBay Joey. Today is the season finale of season 1. We're going to be doing an AMA, Ask Me Anything. I got questions from the Instagram world and I'll be answering them. But I think it'd also be pretty interesting if I were to answer some of the questions that I asked the people that I interview and then do the Q&A. So normally during the interviews, I always ask people, how'd you come up with your name? And for me, I came up with the name eBay Joey because at work, all my coworkers, they came up with the name Joey Smalls. And they just started putting Joey in front of everything or after. And so for many years, they called me Joey. Joey this, Joey that. And when I was getting into reselling, I was like, man, I want to get a catchy name, something that's easy to remember, a couple syllables. And I was like, well, what rhymes, with Joey? That sounds pretty good. And, eBay Joey. And then I did Joey eBay, and I was like, I think eBay Joey sounds good, and it's easy to remember. So that's how I came up with the name eBay Joey. Another question I ask people in the beginning of the interview is like, where are you based out of? Were you born and raised there? For me, I'm born and raised in Southern California, in the Northeast Los Angeles area, Eagle Rock in particular. And then I moved in the San Gabriel Valley later on in my life. And I took a job in Sacramento for this company that I currently work for. And so I relocated to Sacramento, and I did reselling from the Central Valley of California all the way up to Sacramento area. And then recently I got a job transfer where now I'm in San Diego. So I'm back home, Southern California. Not too far away from Los Angeles, but very excited, to be out here. But now San Diego is home. Another question that I ask resellers is, are you full-time or part-time? For me, I'm part-time. I do this on the side. I got a full-time job. I'm a cabinet door salesman. Just in case you're wondering what I do for a living, that's what I do. And it's been working out pretty great. I'm pretty excited for it. Another question that I ask resellers is like, what's your business model? What's your profit margins look like? For me, when I first started, I got a retail background. I was like, 30% is average. I'll be happy with 30%. And in the beginning, when I started selling stuff, I was like, man, if you sell something for $30 or $40, 30% is only like $9 to $12. That's not really much. And so shortly after, maybe about a month, I was selling, I was like, I got to raise it up. I go 30% ain't cutting it. So I did the 40% model that most people use. And that one it's a lot better than 30. But I think for me, 50% is the way to go at minimum, and there's other people that have dollar amounts, but for me, I try to shoot for the lowest 50%. I mean, that's the bare minimum. Now, obviously I'm trying to maximize my profits and do as much as I can, but that's the business model that I feel that works for me. So those were some of the questions that I ask, and it's, I wanted to answer them myself, but let's get into the Q&A. First question comes from Cloud_swimming. What's the greatest find that you have gotten so far? For me, it's been the Jordan 11, the Concord. I found a 5Y at Dick's Sporting Goods. I found this in West Covina when I was visiting my parents, and I took some time and said, oh, well, now that I'm a reseller, I got to take advantage and see what these shops got. So I went over there, found this in the clearance section. I bought it for $112, and I ended up selling it 2 days later for $205. Walked away with a $55 profit. I was pretty excited. Never found another one again. I did go to a lot of Dick's and Sporting Goods, and I wasn't able to replicate it. Next question comes from Sneaker Finds 12. what was the thing that made you want to start reselling? For me, what made me wanted to start reselling was my wife was pregnant. We already have one kid at the time. My son, his name's Joseph Jr., or eBay Joey Jr., and she was pregnant with my daughter, and there was just something inside of me as a father, as a provider, was that I need to make more money. I need to provide and have something special for the future for them. And so reselling came to mind, where it's like, okay, I need to start grinding. And I went on YouTube, found Hustler Hack's channel, and just really, watch what he did. And I was like, you know what? This guy's doing it in El Paso. I can do it where I'm at. And at that time I was in Sacramento. And so that's how I got started. My wife was pregnant with our second child, and I said, I need to kick it into gear. I need to do more. And I've been very excited ever since then with reselling. Next question comes from Elliot Schulman. How difficult is it being a leading male model in the world while also being a master podcaster? I'm not a model by no means, if you've seen me, but I used to be a foot model, and then I got this ingrown on my foot, and that ended my career. So that was the modeling career that I've had. But I'm not a master podcaster by no means. I'm just doing this as a hobby. I'm having fun. I get a lot of props from people from Instagram. I get some DMs, and they're enjoying the show. So that's all that matters. I'm humble by this opportunity and the experience, and everybody that's coming on the show. So salute to all of them, and thank you. Next question comes from Harry.Tornado. Do you use any software for your inventory and sales? I do not use any software. The only thing I use is Excel. I have an Excel spreadsheet that keeps track of my purchases, my inventory, where they're located, how much I bought them, what's my profit margin if I sell it on eBay, what's my profit margin if I sell it on Goat, and that's all I really do. And it's been working out great. I currently have about 90 to 100 items in inventory, so there's no need for any special software. But if I were to ever leverage reselling, then for sure I would want to maybe look into some software and some type of inventory management system. But as far as right now, Harry, very simple, just Excel. It keeps tracks of my purchases, the ones that I finance, I put on a credit card. As soon as I don't sell them within 28 days, then I go ahead and purchase them. If I don't like the shoe, or I thought maybe I can flip it pretty quick, at that point I'll make a decision if I want to return it and get something else. But appreciate the question. Also, I interviewed Harry, episode 11. He's in Germany. If you haven't checked out that episode, check it out. It's pretty cool to hear a different perspective from being a reseller in a different country. Next question, Maximo Fines. Who was your favorite basketball player growing up? Growing up, when I started watching basketball, Michael Jordan was on the scene, and I remember watching a lot of games of his, and I mean, I think he's the GOAT. I think he's the greatest of all time, and I just enjoyed watching him. He dominated. The pressure really wasn't much for him. He could handle it, and I think now that I play pickup basketball, I'm not afraid to have the ball in my hands, last possession, to tie a score, or maybe we're down and we need an extra bucket or a 3-pointer. I don't mind taking the shot. I don't feel like there's pressure. And so, but yeah, he was my favorite player for sure growing up. And can't wait to play basketball with you, Maximo Fines. I see your Instagram post. So hopefully we can ball up soon, man, in SoCal. Next question comes from Florida.Flipping. What's your favorite shoe in your collection, and what is your grail shoe? This question is interesting because I asked him when I interviewed him. I said, what does your shoe collection look like, and is there any shoes that you wouldn't part part away with. And so for me, I'm not a big sneakerhead. I'm just starting off in the sneaker game, but recently I was able to purchase a pair of shoes through the sneaker app. It was the Jordan Obsidians, the UNC ones, and I really like that colorway. I didn't go after any other sizes but my size 13. So that's actually the first Jordan I've ever purchased. Having kids and a wife that I support, 220 or 160 at this point is not the best move for me. But, I do want to get the Jordan 11s, the Concords, and the Breeds. The Breeds are coming out pretty soon. So for sure that one will be in the collection as well. Next question comes from Alex Chavez 17. What advice would you give to rookie resellers to stop price tanking? It's not only like rookies. I feel like it's just people that don't understand business. I think it's people that don't understand that their decision could affect the marketplace. But in any business, you're always going to have the low end. You're always going to have a low baller. I'm a salesman, and in my industry, I'm one of the highest. The product that I sell is the most expensive, and there's probably like 3 other companies, and they're fairly low. They give big discounts, and sometimes you have to combat that. But there's some customers that they want their name to be attached to a low end product, and customers online want to buy a product at the cheapest price. Now there's other customers that they want to buy a product in the middle tier, and there are some people that want to buy it at the top. It's just some type of psychological effect. But I think, resellers that are doing that, that's up to them. It's their business. If they want to make 10, 15, 20% profit, that's on them, man. But I think it's not sustainable. I think eventually they'll just go away, and then maybe someone else will take their spot, maybe not. But hopefully through this podcast and other, YouTubers, they're putting out great content. Hopefully, slowly but surely we can, change the perspective of resellers wanting to tank prices. But look at Walmart, man. I mean, they got the lowest prices, and that place is, busy 24/7. So, if you're selling 100 items a day and you're the lowest one, maybe that business model makes sense. But if you're only selling like, a couple pieces here and there, I don't think it's wise to be the lowest, but that's just my opinion. But appreciate the question, brother. Next question comes from Mr. Zero Eric Zero. Average items listed per week. That really depends on if the stores are hot or not. There's times where I've gone to Marshall's and I've, come away with like 3 big boxes, maybe like 20, 25 pairs of shoes. And that's just in one day. But there's other times where there's nothing. So on average, I'm picking up a couple pieces here and there depending on the market. When I was in Northern California, Central California, it was very difficult. There was a lot of competition. I do it part-time, and you just got to take what you can get. And so I would say it averages around 10 items. Next question comes from Stevie.D.Reselling. Have you been going through withdrawals during the move, or did you enjoy the break from sourcing? I did enjoy the break. It was good just to really sell off inventory that's just been sitting for a while, and just to raise my capital again, because my inventory is currently paid for in full. It's all cash. I think I have like $3,000 to $4,000 worth of inventory. And so to sell some of it and get some of it back and recoup, there was some of them that I wanted to part ways with. Was like, let me just get my money. If I get an offer, I'm going to take it and just move on and just make better decisions. But yeah, it felt good to take a break and not to source and spend more time with the family. But, during the escrow process and looking for a home, 300 plus miles away, I was limited on time. And so it was the right move for me just to put this hustle on hold, even though it was Q4, but did learn a lot. So appreciate the question. Also be on the lookout with the new segment that I'm working with Stevie.D.Reselling. It's called Finding Solutions, where we'll be answering questions from Instagram and, trying to find the solution for your business, whether it's, reselling or some financial aspect or maybe just some type of operations, but be on the lookout for that. Next question comes from the Damper Fanatic. How many New Balance made in USA did you sell and have left? Return any. So during the podcast, as I would interview people, if it came up, I had a bad buy, and I bought a lot of these New Balance made in America. They're the M1400 MG, I believe is the model number. They're green. They were at Marshall's for $50. And I had bought a pair. I had at Burlington at one point had these black ones, the same ones, and they sold, really good. And I was like, you know what? If I ever get my hands on some more of these and the box, I'm gonna kill it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I didn't kill it. I still have them. So when I got this question, I went to where I have all my inventory, and right now I have 13 left in inventory. Roughly comes out to $54 with tax. So that comes out to $702 I have. I've only sold 4. So I sold one on Goat on July 6th. I sold one, it was a 5.5 on eBay on July 5th. I sold a size 11 on July 8th. And then I sold a 6.5 July 10th. And I sold some of these overseas. I think 2 of them for sure, or 3 of them were all to Japan. And I was like, okay, I was very excited. After that, Dapper Fanatic, the price tanked. And so right now, people are giving them away at like $80, 85 on Goat. I seen them as low as 65, 70. So I'm at 125, and then on eBay, I'm like 115 or 125, just, depending on the size and what's left. But, it's been a learning experience. I did interview a guy, Still Kicking Sports, and I had asked him the question. I said, hey, like, when you go into a store and you find a shoe, do you buy multiple of the same size or just one of each? And for him, he said just one of each. But for me, I did the opposite. But I think a wise thing to do is maybe just buy one of each. But I ended up buying like 3 or 4 6.5s, 6 5.5s, 11, 12s, and 13s. And so now I'm stuck with them. But, people say you got to be patient. And so I'm going to be patient with this one. But appreciate the question. Next question comes from Electric Relish. What is something that resellers do on Instagram that annoys you? I think for me, as I'm getting older, I'm 36. I think people complaining really rubs me the wrong way. I think, we live in a great country. The economy is doing very well. There's a lot of opportunities to make money. And for a lot of people, this is just a side hustle. And for some people, it's their livelihood and they do this for a living. So everybody that's full time, I respect them. I want them to make as much money as possible. But, for people that are complaining on Instagram, like I can't find nothing, this person took this. If they're complaining like babies, yeah, that rubs me the wrong way. But, it's just, words on the screen that are a text message. So you don't really know the context of how they're saying it. So that's the only thing. Next question comes from Carlos 0910G. Do you think YouTubers are ruining the reselling business? Oh man, this was a great question. I asked this question to Hustler Hacks. This guy has over 96,000 followers on YouTube. This guy puts out content, and one thing that I told him when he interviewed people was that you gave birth to a lot of people. A lot of people are making money because of your content. Now, are people using the right business model? I don't think so, but I don't think it's the YouTuber that gave them the bad business model. I think the YouTubers are telling people how to make money, but I don't think you could really blame them for someone that's new that doesn't understand the economics or the business operation or the business side of reselling. But I think for the most part, I'm happy that they are creating content, because if it wasn't for them, I think, a lot of people would not have got started in this game. But I haven't met any YouTubers that I feel like that are messing up the game. If anything, I think, they are making it easier for people, but the people that they're making it easier for, they're not doing their homework. They're not doing their research. These are the people that, they follow everybody on Instagram. they subscribe to everybody. They're watching every video, and they're just looking to see what people are posting. Are the comms good? And they're not doing their homework, so they're relying on somebody else. I think if anything, I think there's a lot of bad habits that have been created, from watching it, and then them thinking that it's really easy. But I don't think reselling is difficult, but I don't think it's easy. It's not rocket science. But I think where people struggle the most is where to price your items. I think that's where a lot of people struggle. So hopefully this podcast is helping people. I bring on, successful resellers that are doing a great job. And, we discuss, some numbers. We talk about business models, and I think season 2 is going to be the same thing. And so as long as we educate people, I think we'll be all right. But I appreciate the question. Last questions. I say questions because it's coming from Ross Shellington, good friend of the show. He sent me 5 questions, so we're going to answer them. And I feel like he's interviewing me. I also interviewed him. If you haven't got a chance to check it out, Ross Shellington, this guy's a monster, finding all this stuff on his lunch break. So go check him out and go follow him on IG. He's close to 2,000 followers. He said when he gets to 2,000, he's doing a big giveaway. So let's help him get to that number. So his question says, what made you want to start a podcast on resellers? I think for me, at one point when I was new, I wanted to really talk to a lot of resellers. I wanted to know what their business model was. I really wanted to know, how they conduct business, what's their routines. I wanted to learn from somebody, and I felt like there really wasn't any content at the time as far as like a course that you can take, or, some type of like online, like if it was a college and you took an online course. And, me being a reseller, I was like, man, I would really love to know if I'm doing things the right way. And it just kind of clicked where I was like, this community doesn't have a podcast. We got Hustler Hacks. We have Know It to Flip It. We have Nacho's Average Finds. And, there's other people out there that are not part of our community. And I was like, how awesome would it be to interview people, other resellers across the United States, maybe even the world, and just find out how they do things, what their challenges are. And, ever since that idea came to play, like, it's been great, man, where, you get to really hear a different perspective, and, and I don't know, it's just amazing. So that's what ended up happening. What are you going to do for season 2? Season 2, we're going to still interview resellers. I want to interview people that just don't sell shoes. I want to start interviewing people like that do sneakers, and they're doing these big bulk buys. People like that you see at Sneaker Con. I really want to talk to those resellers, because it's different from the resellers that go to Ross, Burlington, and Marshall. So I would like to see how they got started, their journey. So hopefully I can branch off to that. I want to interview people that just don't sell sneakers. I would really like to see people that sell other items, and just see what their journey is with that. I know there's a lot of people that do books and they do DVDs. So hopefully I can branch out. I want to interview other people that have podcasts about reselling. I really want to network with as many people as possible, but season 2, I only could do so much. I'm going to start a new segment with Stevie D. It's called Finding Solutions. We're going to give that a run, see if people like it, see if they're interested. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to try different things. I think you got to constantly keep it, refresh. You got to you can't be doing the same thing. People are going to get tired of it. No one wants to eat their favorite meal every night. You want to try different things. But appreciate that one, Ross. Question number 3, how do you think your move will affect your sourcing and podcasts? With my podcasts, I had to do a lot of interviews ahead of time. So right before my move, I was interviewing like 3-4 people a night. I was doing a lot of editing. I really slowed down from sourcing because I was putting a lot of time and energy into the podcast. And so I had to start learning how to edit videos, how to edit audio, and just trying to make it as smooth as possible for the listener. So that took up a lot of my time. Now I'm starting to streamline that process, and it's working out where, I'm able to edit pretty quick. And then now I'm learning how to do graphic design. But, if anybody's listening that does graphic design, maybe some video editing, would love to work with you. That would be awesome. But yeah, it did affect the sourcing. Sales were really down. Like I said, I was just selling through my inventory, and I realized that my inventory is not that hot because it's not selling as quick. But it was a learning experience, and I think my wife appreciated the time off that I had, to spend with her and the kids. Question number 4, what have you learned from doing the interviews, and what tips will you incorporate in your own reselling business? You know what? Every person that I've interviewed, I've learned a lot. There's always something to take away from each one, regardless if someone is a novice reseller or if someone does it for a living. There's always something to take away from it. I think if anything, one thing that I really lack in my reselling game is just patience. Naturally, I'm a salesman, and so when I'm in the field, it's like every time I walk into a shop or I meet a customer, my mindset is I need to close this deal. And on the online world, there's not that pressure, but I give myself that pressure. So sometimes if I buy something and I list it right away and I get an offer, I usually take it just because the aggressiveness that I have, that's just natural. But I think one thing is just to be patient and also do the research. I did a lot of impulse buying. I always felt that, I'm in the store, I got to buy something. I came here, I can't walk away empty-handed. So those are 2 things that I really want to implement in the move that I am down here. So as long as I'm sourcing, if I see something just because it's an Air Max 95, are the comps great? If they're not, don't buy it just because it's an Air Max 95. And I think the old eBay Joey would have bought it, but during interviewing people, that's one thing that I learned. Question number 5, last question. When are we going to see Ross Shellington in action? So I'm going to be working with Ross Shellington. We've been talking since I met him in Vegas, for eBay Open 2019. I want to go to the East Coast and do some sourcing and document it and make a YouTube video out of it. But also want to start collabing with other resellers in other areas. Like, I don't want to start recording myself sourcing, but if there's another reseller, I would like to, do a collaboration and record that and just have fun, man. I think, people want to see what it's like in other areas. So hopefully early next year, I'll be taking a trip out to the East Coast and then linking up with Ross Shellington and do some sourcing, make some videos, and hopefully, you guys will like them. We want to make them entertaining. So Ross Shellington, I'm coming for you. That was all the questions that I got from Instagram. I appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We can probably do a Q&A like this maybe a year from now and just kind of see where I'm at. But normally at the end of each interview, I always ask the question. I always say, what kind of advice would you give someone that is in the same boat as you? And I think for me, if you have a full-time job, you support a family, and you want extra income, just be patient with the process. I think, people always say Rome wasn't built overnight. And I think there's certain things in life you got to be patient with. And there's some other things where I'm going to kick down the door. That's my mentality as well. But you really want to learn. And so for me, when I first started, I really wanted to learn the logistics, the shipping, the packaging. And, I ended up selling like low ends. I think they were the Mike Trouts. I ended up buying every Mike Trout that I could find for $3, $5, $7.50. And I just sold these low end shoes for like 25, 30, 35 bucks. Didn't make a lot of money. I didn't want to make money. I mean, I wanted to make money, but I wasn't going to make Uber money where I can retire. I just really wanted to learn the logistics, but I was in a field of low ballers. And once I went through that process, I said, you know what? I don't want to do this again, man. Like, so now, if I find something that's low end, I don't want to deal with it, but it was good to learn. So I think, if you want to get started in reselling, just take it slow, man. Just set some goals, reasonable. For me, it was like, I want to make $20 a day in profit. That was my goal. Once I achieved that, I said, it's time to have a bigger goal. And I said, okay, I want to make $500 in profit. I want to make $750 in profit. I want to make $1,000. And then there's always going to be someone in front of you. There's always going to be someone that makes more than you. That's just the way it is. And so as long as you have those goals, you'll get there. And you just got to find, a way to do it. And then also, one of the very last question that I ask people is what kind of advice would you give yourself? And for me, I think the best advice that I would give myself a long time ago is, I wish I would have started sooner. And also, don't buy stuff that you plan on returning. And those were some things that I did early on, is I ended up returning a lot. And, I was so embarrassed that I would send my wife to the stores and she would return them. But, trying to go away from that. And it's a learning process. But, yeah, that's it. That's the end of the interview. You can find me, eBay Joey, on Instagram. I made an Instagram for a reseller's journey, if you want to follow that. Also, I started a website, aresellersjourney.com. I started an email. It's joey@aresellersjourney.com. And then we also have the YouTube channel, A Reseller's Journey, or you can always search eBay Joey. And, we're just out there. Want to give a special shout out to my wife, being very supportive during this process. I do interview people on the East Coast, and, with two little ones. I got a 3.5-year-old and I got a 6-month-old. And it's just tough sometimes when, it's 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and you're interviewing, somebody on the East Coast. So she's been very, patient. She's been also one to help me with the podcast. In the beginning of the podcast, that's her voice. I can't afford to pay anybody at the moment. But also we listen to every interview together after I interview it. And, she critiques me a lot. And so I just want to get better, not only for her and for my family, but for you, the listeners. So if you guys have any feedback that you would like to give me, whether it's good or bad, one person left a comment on YouTube, and that person said, hey, how come you're not doing a video interview? And I was at the time, but it was so difficult for me to edit it and then the audio. But, I took that to heart, and I said, this is what the people want. You got to give it to them. And so now I upload the videos, and I make time for it. So any feedback, don't be afraid. Send me a DM. But that's it. You know how it goes. Remember, never forget why you started.